What's up, guys? I'm Benny Adams back again, and I'm so excited for this interview. I have Lucca De Oliveira with me. He is on the hit CBS show Clarice. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you? Thank you for
Dude,
having me.
no problem, no problem. Thanks so much for coming on and doing this interview. I have so much that I want to talk to you about because you were on an epic show, to say the
Oh, thank
least.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
So before we get into it, for the people who haven't seen the show yet, why don't you describe your character on the show and what he's all about?
Yeah. So the show takes place about a year after the incidences of Silence of the Lambs. My character, Tomas Esquivel, doesn't exist in the books or the movie. He's a new character that we introduced into the show, and he acts as an ally to Clarice in this new world, into this kind of new persona that she's having to take on after what she dealt with Buffalo Bill. He's a military man at heart. He's a sniper, and he's being put into this the bureau in kind of a new territory that he's not familiar with. And Clarice kind of helps him navigate, through all of that, and they start to lean on each other throughout the season.
That's awesome, and I love how you're playing this role in this iconic franchise. When you found out that you got this role, what was your reaction like?
Man, I was pretty, I was kind of shocked. I barely knew what to say. Honestly, this was kind of one of those auditions for me where I kind of went into it not really thinking anything of it. I didn't think that I would fit the character. But I think there's like a certain kind of humanity to Esquivel that I resonate with heavily. And it was just, it's such a blessing. It's so insane. Silence of the Lambs, bringing it back. It was like so overwhelming. And I honestly didn't even know it was Silence of the Lambs at first. Because they kept everything pretty quiet.
Hmm.
But it was a very surreal experience, and just like a total dream come true for me.
Were you a huge fan of Silence on the Lambs and all the movies after?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, after I found out about the job, I started to do like a lot of research. But before that, I was a huge fan of Silence of the Lambs. It was my mom's favorite movie. And she was kind of the one that got me into watching it the first time around. And then, along with Thomas Harris's other works, like Red Dragon and Hannibal,
Hmm.
like I loved those movies, and I was very familiar with the world, going into it.
I love it. I love it. And so you briefly touched on this a little bit about your character and what drew you to your character. What else really drew you to this character to just be like, you know what, I really want to play this guy?
Man, I think there's there's like a delicacy to him that I really resonated with. There's like his rhythm and his pace is very similar to mine. He he's so far from the overconfident FBI agents we're pretty familiar with. I think he's much quieter and much more thoughtful. And the biggest thing that I connected to mostly with him was that the cases that we come across, and the stuff that happens and the stuff that we deal with, it's nothing that he's necessarily comfortable with or
Hmm.
desensitized to. I think he feels that deeply. Like, he feels what he sees, and he takes it very personally. And I think he sees some of his own family and some of the own people that he knows in his personal life in the victims that they come across. And it was a real nice opportunity to humanize the character and to not make him so one colored. And I think that's what I love about him most, is that he's not just some cold killer. He's like the heart of the show in a lot of ways, and
Yeah.
he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's honest and open, and kind of just like a this is what you get, take it or leave it kind of attitude sometimes. But yeah, I really love playing those two sides. I think it makes just for like a much richer character.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because when I watched the first episode of Clarice, I noticed that the premise, not the whole premise, but the premise of the show seems to focus on a woman in a man's world.
Yeah.
And you have, all of these men in these high, powerful positions. And then you have you, who seems to be the guy who wants to give Clarice a chance, who is kind
Yeah.
of rooting for her. So I really love that about your character.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, man. I think it's good to have someone in your corner, and Esquivel realizes that, like Clarice and Ardelia too, like the three of us, we get along really well in the show, moving on in the season. But we're all minorities in the bureau at that time. Like it's the '90s, and I think he knows what advantage he can get by sticking to his own people. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. I love it. I love it. And so you have a pretty impressive resume when it comes to acting.
Thank
You've
you.
also been on SEAL Team as well. What prepared you for this role? With being on SEAL Team, did that kind of help you prepare for the role, or how did you get prepared for the
Oh
role?
yeah, I mean, my experience on SEAL Team definitely helped me with this job. I mean, in terms of the tactical side of things, I have I'd like to think I have such a well-rounded and relatively thorough understanding of what it means to take on a role like this, a military role. And I had some weapons training on SEAL Team that really benefited me here. I also had some training here because I was just working with a different type of weapon, right? Like the sniper
Right.
weapon, like just a completely different weapon than what I was working with on SEAL Team. And I take that training very seriously because guns make me uncomfortable in my real life. It's not a hobby of mine. I don't go to a shooting range on my free time. For me, it's just like learning another language. It's like learning an accent. It's just something I had to learn for the job, and it brings authenticity to the character. My first thing going into this was that I wanted to be able to take it apart, clean it, put it back together, figure out how to work through malfunctions and stuff like that. And
Wow.
Stuff like that. It's like nobody ever sees that, right? Like we'll never take too much time to like go into all that. But for me, it makes me feel more comfortable. It makes me feel safe with it, even though it's fake. I treat it with respect, because they're no joke. And this show really is, it's heavy. And we look into what it means to die and what it means to take a life and whose life is prioritized over another's and all of that. So it was important for me to have a, relatively comfortable relationship with a weapon,
Right. Yeah. And I remember watching episode 2. I don't want to give away any spoilers for people who haven't seen it, but yeah, like I'm watching that towards the end where you have the sniper.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, man. And I'm like, this guy is good. And you're describing how you practice and you made sure that, everything was right with you and the sniper. Like I can definitely tell. You make it seem so easy. You make it seem so easy.
Yeah. It's funny because it's so not. It's. I'd like to think that when we get on the day and when we shoot, everything kind of goes out the window. But you can't help but. I mean, at least for me with roles like this, you can't help but carry it with you. I don't have a background in that kind of area. I don't.
Right.
That kind of stuff very easily. It weighs on me, and it weighs on Esquivel too. So I can kind of use that to my advantage,
Right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
you're on this huge show that's a part of this huge franchise. Have any of the actors who have played in the movies, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, have any of them reached out just to say, you know what, love the show, or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, my character's new. He's a completely new character to the world of Silence of the Lambs, to like the Thomas Harris universe. I definitely pulled from like some other stuff to kind of get a sense, like in Red Dragon, Ed Norton's character was a character that I really looked at because he had a rhythm to him that I really resonated with, and he was like some sort of an inspiration for me. But not really, because he's new and he's separate. We're trying also to separate it from what people are already familiar with, right? We want them to know what they're going into,
Right.
but it's a take on it, and it's through a new lens,
Right. And speaking of characters, staying on the topic, who would you like to see on the show as a special guest or even a series regular from the previous movies?
Oh my God, that's a great question. I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, from the movies or from, damn, you threw me for a loop. I think honestly, Crawford was pretty cool in Silence of the Lambs. That would be cool to see him come back and see
Yeah.
how Reese and him could get along a little more. And yeah, I think that would be also Catherine's boyfriend, Catherine's man's would be cool too, because I know there's like we get a quick glimpse of it in the movie, but we haven't seen it in the show yet. It would be cool to see them, but that's about it. I don't really know. That's a tough question.
Hey, I would be down to see those two though. That's
Right,
a,
it
that's a
would be
good
cool.
answer.
Cool. Yeah.
Exactly. So, Silence of the Lambs, it was a psychological horror type of film.
Yeah.
And I feel like Clarice falls under that. Not as much as horror, but I guess kind of horror, but definitely psychological.
There's elements to it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to ask you, like, are you fans of any horror films? And what horror films like do you love if you're a fan of horror films?
Horror films. Let's see. The first horror film that I watched that really kind of took me for a loop was probably Blair Witch Project.
Oh,
that was a movie that like kept me up at night. You know, another movie that really threw me for a loop was Chucky. And it's not, I don't even know if that counts, but you know, I just remember seeing the trailer and being horrified by the trailer. It was something that like actually kept me up for nights on end. But yeah, I think I'd have to stick with Blair Witch Project. That they killed me with that one. I don't think I could be in the woods alone ever after watching that.
that's a classic, man. You have good taste.
Oh, thank you.
So what can we expect for the rest of the season of Clarice? I know you can't give out any spoilers, but can you tease the viewers of what we can expect for your character and the show as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, you know, moving forward throughout the season, we're going to get deeper into this case, right? I think that's one thing that I definitely want people to know. It's not a different case every episode. And I think if you've been watching, you should pick up on that by now. It's one big case, and we're kind of slowly but surely cracking down on it. As far as for my character and for the show, we're going to start to see the group get along a little better and figure out their dynamic, how they work together, who takes on what responsibilities, and who goes off together and who doesn't. You know, I know that, you know, the relationship between Esquivel and Clarice starts to grow. They become really good colleagues, you know, and the relationship between Esquivel and Tripati starts to grow. The relationship between Esquivel and Clark starts to develop. We start to see more of the things that they agree and disagree on. And we start to see more of what this experience is like for, you know, Esquivel and Ardelia and Clarice being minorities in, you know, in a precinct that is, or a bureau that is, you know, predominantly white in the 90s, you know. So we definitely look into all of that. And the stakes just get higher and things just get more intense, and, you know, it just gets spookier, you know.
I can't wait, man. And I love the fact that you guys are tackling, you know, these serious issues that are happening in this world today. So
Absolutely.
kudos to you guys and the writers and everything. Like, I love this show. For your fans who want to know, you know, what else are you working on?
Well, you know, right now I'm kind of just looking for what's next. You know, I'm reading for a bunch of stuff and talking to a lot of people. I'm trying to write some stuff of my own and see if, you know, I can get on the other side a little bit. I've been really interested in the writer's process lately and what it takes to, you know, get a show made and produce. I think right now what I'm kind of focused on is working in a movie. I've never done a movie before. And I just wonder what that shooting experience is like and what that relationship is like with the script and like a single director, because, you know, in TV, the scripts kind of, you know, they're kind of coming at you pretty quickly, and you got to be able to turn around pretty fast. And also you're working with different directors, which, you know, is great. And I think it's like the best experience and the best training you could get. But I would like to see what the comfort level is when you're working with one director with one script that doesn't change very much. And, you know, you can kind of just really kind of sink into it. And you also know where the character's going, right? With us, we kind of really know, right? Like the writers know a little more, which is great. And the mystery of that is so exhilarating. But, you know, I'm always kind of looking for the stuff that I haven't experienced, and that's something I haven't experienced. So I'm putting that out into the universe right now.
We're doing it, man. I was literally thinking that, like, we're gonna put this out into the universe. If you could pick a genre of a movie that you would want to star in, what would it be? Would it be horror, adventure, sci-fi?
Oh man, I've been having an itch for sci-fi lately, just because that sounds so fun, right? To be in space and like be like in some sort of weird suit or whatever. I've always resonated mostly with like action dramas, or dramas, anything that's like super dramatic and emotional and like dark. Like I've always loved that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I got my eye out for right now.
Very nice. And last question, Lucca, if you could pick any actor in the world to work with, movie or TV, who would it be?
Ooh, this is such a good question. I always anticipate this question and I never have an answer for it because there's so many, of course, there's so many great actors out there. I mean, someone that's recently been really on my radar is Pedro Pascal. And I think like to have the opportunity to work like within 10 feet of him for me would be like, a dream come true. I love his work so much. And, I really look to him for inspiration, and to be able to share a scene with him, in any capacity would be a real dream come true for me.
Nice. Well, we're also putting that into the universe, man. You will be working with this actor.
Yes.
It's out there. It's out there.
It's totally possible, man. It's totally possible. Anything's possible.
Exactly. Well, Lucca, thank you so much for stopping by, talking with me about Clarice. Any final words to your fans?
Keep watching the show, guys. It's just getting better. We just got the last couple scripts for our season, and man, it's really exciting. And I think for fans of Silence of the Lambs and fans of Thomas Harris, it's really exciting to see the future of these characters and to see the future of what these people deal with. So just stay tuned, keep watching, keep loving it. It's good stuff.
I can't wait to see everything unfold, man. Well, thank you again, Lucca. I hope you have a great day. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching, and I will see you guys later.